What's up, Sugar Bushes? Welcome to another episode of Crime and Cosmetics. Today we are talking about the Granny Killer of Australia, John Wayne Glover. When I first heard the name, I was like, they mean John Wayne Gacy? Or, no, they did not. Apparently this dude only killed elderly. What? 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 What do you want? What do you want from me? What? Okay, well, give me a second, okay? 1 minute. Uno momento, please. So we're going to be covering John Wayne Glover. We're going to start, like I said, we're going to start rotating out Sundays with Crime and Cosmetics. Ow, you can dig your claws in my legs, please. Yeah, so, like clockwork. Yeah, so we're going to start rotating out Crime and Cosmetics with, like, spooky stories and stuff like that. So if you have any, like, paranormal stories or spooky stories that you want to send and you want us to read during those segments, you can send them to snacksspookystories@gmail.com. I'll put it somewhere around here. But let me take care... What? What? Okay. Will you be patient? Thank you. Let me take care of I think we're going to do some blue and black today, just for funsies. Let me take care of these old gals, and then we'll get started. Will you stop digging your claws in my leg, please? Thank you. All right, give me 1 second. All right, so old Johnsworth was born on 1932, and he came from like a working class family in Wolverhampton, England. Sounds kind of made up, to be honest, but I guess that's a real place. So straight out the gate, he was committing petty crimes at an early age, usually stuff like stealing handbags and clothes, just your general, kleptomaniac stuff. At the age of 14, he skedaddles on out of school. It's like, I'm done, don't need to do that anymore. I already know everything that could ever be learned, so I'm good. Leaves school, and I guess tries to join the British Army, but he got in, and then they learned about his previous crimes that he was committing, and they were like, all right, champ, get out of here, and told him to kick rocks. So in like 1956, 1957, around that time, he's like, all right, I'm gonna head out, and pops on over to Australia. He settles in Melbourne. And not long after his fresh start, he is picked up by the 5-0 in Victoria for larceny. So, and he gets hit with another stealing charge in New South Wales as well. This dude had some sticky fingers. Then, in 1962, he's hit with 2 counts of assaulting women in Melbourne, and 2 counts of so he's hit with assaulting 2 women. The charges that he's brought up on are 2 counts of indecent assault, 1 count of assault occasioning actual bodily harm, and another 4 counts of larceny, and he is sentenced to 3-year good behavior bond, which I don't exactly know what that is, but it seems pretty light. Color me crazy, but assaulting 2 people should get you more time behind bars. What do I know, though? I'm not a judge or a lawyer, you know what I'm saying? So I had the old intern look up what a 3-year good behavior bond, and apparently in Australia, the legal system, a good behavior bond is a type of non-custodial sentence which involves the condition of the offender's, quote, good behavior for a set period. Yeah, that sounds exactly like probation. It sounds like diversion, actually. So if you don't know what diversion is, basically, from what I've heard, if you get arrested for, let's say, a drug charge, instead of doing time, you can, this is only for first-time drug offenses, you can opt to do diversion. And diversion basically means you don't go to jail, because that place sucks, from what I've heard. You don't go to jail, and you have to, it's kind of like probation, but for drug offenses. Sometimes you have to get drug tested regularly, sometimes you don't. When my friend did it, they didn't have to get drug tested regularly, because they got arrested in a completely different county. They just had to go to some drug classes. which was funny. Sidebar, which was hilarious because I went to these classes that they required my friend to do. Required my friend to do it. There was a guy there. There was a guy in one of the classes that was there because he was drinking while driving a go-kart and got hit with a DUI. And then we watched these really old 90s videos of like marijuana, and these people are like, marijuana ruined my life, I gave everything to marijuana. And after the video was over, the guy leading the course, really cool guy actually, was like, so how does everyone feel about what they just watched? And my friend raised their hand and was like, yeah, that's kind of bullshit. And he was like, what do you mean? And it was like, these people obviously have other issues besides substance abuse that need to be tended to. And I understand that, you know, even in the realm of marijuana, some people can take it too far, but it's not the only thing that's going to ruin your life. But anywhoozle, back to where, you know, what we were talking about. So, Mr. Glover is just in constant trouble throughout his life. He's kind of starting to show everybody that he's not the best guy around. Apparently, let me find a new brush for this blue. This here blue, is this black on this brush? Yeah, but we can still use it for blue. It's not that big a deal. Still use it for the blues. So apparently he has like constant trouble with like older women in his life, such as his mother and his mother-in-law, which has to be some kind of foreshadowing to events that we will talk about soon. So in 1989, his mom dies of breast cancer, and later that year, he himself is diagnosed with male breast cancer. He splits with his wife, who takes their daughters to New Zealand to start a new life. So, hey, girl, no. I already see what you're about to do. No. You cannot get up here. There's so much stuff on this desk right now. There's no room for you. You're so big. Don't you do it. You can sit right there and watch, but that's it. Oh, you just want to lick the condensation off the can? By all means, live your life. So before this piece of shit starts murdering people, on January 11th, 1989, he sees 84-year-old Margaret Todd Hunter walking down the street. Glover then parks his car and walks up to her and just punches her square in the face. He steals the contents of her purse and books it. Police believed that this is just a general mugging that really had, and they really had no hope to find the perpetrator, which is something you always want to hear when you've just been mugged. So on March 1st, 1989, John Pain in everyone's ass Glover leaves the Mosman RSL, which from what I read is basically like Australia's version of the VFW. If you don't know what the VFW is, it's the Veterans of Foreign Wars. It's basically a place for dudes who have served in the military or are currently serving in the military to hang out with each other and just be bros doing dude things, you know what I'm saying? So as he leaves the RSL, he sees 82-year-old Gwendolyn Mitchell Hill. She's walking down the street, and Glover sees her, and he then goes back to his car. He pulls a hammer from his vehicle and puts it under his belt and begins to follow her. And once she gets to the entry foyer of her apartment building, as she's opening the door, Glover then hits her in the back of the head with the hammer and continues to hit her repeatedly. He then steals her purse. And flees the scene. Gwendolyn was actually still alive when she was found by two schoolboys, which I can imagine is somewhat traumatizing. She was actually still alive, but she died shortly after when police and ambulance arrived. When the police and ambulance arrived on scene, police were a bit baffled by this. They had really no leads and no eyewitness testimonies either. They kind of believe that this might be linked to the assault on Margaret Todd Hunter, but they had no concrete evidence to back that up, and they had just believed that that was a mugging and not sure if these would be connected. Then on May 9th, 1989, old Glover is walking along the same road that he saw Gwendolyn on when he sees 84-year-old Lady Ashton. She was the widow of a very well-known impressionist artist named Sir John William Ashton. Lady Ashton walks past him and Glover, and he turns around and starts following her. As she reaches her home nearby, Glover puts a pair of gloves on and attacks her with his hammer, which is apparently his weapon of choice. He attacks her with his hammer. He throws her to the ground, and he drags her into a, quote, rubbish bin alcove, which I can just imagine is a like a dumpster area. But as he drags her into that and he begins hitting her head on the pavement, Glover, during his recount of this, stated that she had almost overpowered him until he fell on top of her and started bashing her head into the pavement. After Lady Ashton was unconscious, Glover removed her pantyhose and strangled her and placed her shoes and walking stick at her feet and took her purse and left her there. He then walks his happy little ass down to the RSL and goes inside and spends the money inside Lady Ashton's purse. He even goes as far as, when he hears sirens outside after Lady Ashton's body was discovered, even goes as far as when he hears those sirens to say he hoped there wasn't another mugging gone wrong. What a little bitch. Also, I don't understand the phrase mugging gone wrong. What the hell about a mugging is supposed to go right? A mugging is a mugging. If someone gets murdered, it's a mugging and a murder. I don't understand the mugging gone wrong thing. Whatever, What do I know? I'm just a guy on the internet. So police find Lady Ashton's body where Glover had left it. The pantyhose had been strung so tightly around her neck that it had cut through her skin, which is fucking awful. Police concluded that they were in fact dealing with a serial killer, which the U.S. police would never. They'd be like, crazy, all these old ladies are ending up dead around here. Well, open and shut case. Anyways, they concluded they were dealing with a serial killer. They stated that all three victims were wealthy, elderly women from the same suburb, and they were all assaulted and killed in the same manner before being robbed. They basically, they kind of ruled out that this was done for money, because whereas Glover did steal the contents of their purse, Lady Ashton's really expensive diamond ring was still, on her finger, so their thought process was, if they were doing this to rob these women, why would he leave the diamond ring? Anyhoozle, from the 6th of June, 1989 to October 18th of that same year, Glover takes a break from his little murdering spree and sexually assaulted random elderly women around the area, preying on 5 of them in total. On November 2nd of 1989, Glover walks up to Dorothy Bienke, sorry if I mispronounced that, while she is walking home down a back street on her way home from, blah, blah, blah. What am I even trying to say? He walks up to her while she is walking down a back street on her way home and starts making small talk with her. That's what I'm trying to say. He makes small talk with her and offers to carry her groceries home for her because she had just went grocery shopping. She obliges. He carries her groceries all the way to her home, and she invites him to come in and, girl, what is going on? cat is losing her mind right now. What's up? Anyways, so she invites him to come in and have a little bit of tea. Dorothea Pointe, is that are you referencing the killer grandma that we covered? To have a cup of tea. Surprisingly, Glover denies coming in for tea and returns to the main street where he passes another elderly woman, 85-year-old Margaret Pahud, sorry if I mispronounced that as well, who was on her way home from grocery shopping too. So Glover sees Margaret and immediately assaults her from behind. He hits her on the back of the head with a blunt instrument, probably the hammer that he is so keen to using. Okay, thank you. Jesus. Hits her on the back of the head with his hammer and causes her to collapse before striking her once more on the side of the head. Glover took the time to rearrange Margaret's clothing, shoes, and walking stick, whilst also taking her handbag before he leaves the scene. Margaret's body is found by a very young schoolgirl, and when police arrive, they were sure that this was work of the, quote, granny killer. So police begin investigating this murder, and what isn't helping their investigation is that before they can collect any, sufficient evidence, neighbors are for some reason washing down the crime scene. And this is happening on multiple occasions. So when police come back to try to get more evidence, it's been washed down by the neighbors. So, I'm also a little confused on why he didn't, obviously glad, but why didn't he kill Dorothy? Like, she even invited him in and everything. It would have been that easy, but I don't know, maybe, maybe he had to change her heart for like 2 seconds. So, anywhoozle, Glover rummages through, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Glover rummages through Margaret's purse at a nearby golf course and, takes her money, which is what he is keen to do, takes the money out of the purse, and he trots his little happy ass back to the RSL and spends the money he had taken from her. Which was, of course, standard practice. He always went straight to the RSL to spend the money that he had stolen from his victims. It was just like clockwork. So, within 24 hours of killing Margaret on November 3rd, Glover, I almost just put black on our blue brush. That wouldn't be good. Glover sees 81-year-old Olive Cleveland sitting outside on a bench just in front of her retirement village. This is blue, right? Yes, it is. Get it together, Snacks. Sees her sitting out on a bench just in front of her retirement village. Glover strikes up a conversation with Olive, and during this conversation, Olive immediately gets bad vibes all around. Just gets bad vibes from this dude, and he starts making her feel uncomfortable, which is not surprising at all. Once she starts feeling uncomfortable, she gets up and she starts walking back to the main building of her retirement village, and that's when Glover grabs her and forces her down a ramp that goes into a secluded area. He hits her repeatedly with his hammer, smashing her head into the concrete over and over again before removing her pantyhose and wrapping it tightly around her neck, just as he'd done with the previous women. Glover rearranges her shoes, clothes, and walking stick, and like clockwork, takes the money from her purse and skedaddles. So there's an excerpt from the wiki page that says, quote, "Once again, the old woman's injuries were initially attributed to a heavy fall, and the crime scene was yet again washed down." Which I didn't quite understand, because attributed to a heavy fall? Yeah, okay. This looks like this. All right, Johnson. Looks like this woman fell and wrapped her pantyhose around her neck. I have no idea what's going on here. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But also, again, the crime scene was washed down, which is just ridiculous, bro. Leave crime scenes alone. So police are, excuse me, struggling to find who is committing these murders. They have no clues. They have no evidence because people keep washing down the crime scene. So they double the reward for any information leading to the arrest of the granny killer to $200,000, which, let me convert that real quick. So $200,000 in American money and bald eagles would be around $278,000 in Australian money, or, you know, giant spiders, whatever they barter with in Australia, I don't know. Moving on, though. So, November 23rd, 1989, Glover spots 90... Chat like last noticeable. Nice. True. Glover spots 93-year-old Muriel Falconer walking home from her shopping trip. Glover walks over to his car, which is, ironically, parked outside the police station. He retrieves his trusty old hammer and gloves, and he begins following Muriel to the exterior of her home and quietly creeps up behind her. So Muriel is partially deaf and partially blind, so she did not hear Glover sneaking up behind her. As she opens the door, Glover puts his hand around her mouth and tells her to keep her quiet, and begins striking her multiple times around the head and neck with his hammer. As she falls to the floor, Glover begins to remove her pantyhose, and while he was doing this, she regained consciousness and began to cry out for help, which prompted Glover to hit her again multiple times with his hammer before ultimately strangling her. So I think, you know how I used to do the red irritation stuff right here with the... I might try that with this blue. I do remember last time we used red, it didn't show. It looked a little more orange on camera, so hopefully that's not the case here, but we will give it a try. So, Glover searches through her purse for valuables and finds like $100 and skedaddles. The body is discovered the following afternoon by a neighbor who entered Muriel's home using a spare key. The crime scene was finally left undisturbed, and police were finally able to gather forensic evidence as well as get a description of the suspect, who was described as a middle-aged man, portly, with gray hair, which is a huge break considering they haven't been able to get any forensic evidence with the past murders, or even an eyewitness account or description. So after this encounter, so I went ahead and tried it, and I'm kind of liking how it's looking, so we're gonna roll with it. If we don't like it in the end, we'll take it off and just stick to the blue. Whatever its makeup, it washes off. So now we are at January 11th, 1990. The reward for the granny killer has been raised to $250,000. I'm not going to convert that. You can do the math yourself. Glover is on his meat pie salesman rounds, because that's what he did for a living. He was a meat pie salesman, which for some reason is tracks. I don't know why, but and I don't like the term meat pie. It's fucking gross. I don't know why, but it gives me the heebie-jeebies. So, because of course he sells meat pies for a living. Anyways, he is at the Greenwich Hospital in River Road, Greenwich. He is in the palliative care ward, which from my understanding is basically a comfort ward for individuals with severe or illnesses that are in advanced stages. He approaches 82-year-old Daisy Roberts, who is suffering. 250 Australian dollars is... What? Really? Hold on. Wait a minute. No way. How is that? I'm confused. I am confused. Ow. Sorry. 250,000 Australian dollars is 179,000 in US dollars. Then how was 200,000 US dollars 278? I don't believe you. Maybe I'm wrong. 250 1, 2, 3 Australian USD to AUD. 250. So 250 Australian dollars, $250,000 200,000 US dollars is 349,000 Australian dollars. So what is, maybe I was wrong on my end too on the first one. Why is my number lock off? There we go. God damn it, I keep knocking my vape over. Exchange rate. So 200,000 US dollars equals to 278,000 Australian dollars. Where did you get? Oh, because you were converting them backwards. Okay, wait, what? Am I dumb? Are we dumb? We got confused about whose exchange rate was what. Wasn't the reward in Australian dollars? Yeah, it was in Australian dollars. Holy buckets, intern. Well, are we doing this right now? So 250. Okay, we'll just do it backwards then. Okay, 250 Australian dollars to United States dollars. Oh, yeah, I'm stupid. You're right. You're correct. I'm the dumbest person alive. So that makes sense. I figured, I don't even know what I was thinking. That's right. That's right. You are correct. So turns out I was wrong. So 250,000 Australian dollars translates to 179,000 US dollars. And then 200,000 Australian dollars translates to 143,000 US dollars. I was just completely confused. That was my bad. My brain was all over the place. Where the hell were we? So he assaults 82-year-old. So he is in this palliative care ward, which again is basically a place where people with advanced stages of illness are. It's a comfort ward, basically. That's where he sees 82-year-old Daisy Roberts, who is suffering from advanced stages of cancer, and he fucking sexually assaults her, and she calls for help. Obviously, she calls for help. And a nurse ends up confronting Glover, and when he's confronted, he flees the scene. But the nurse was able to record his vehicle's plate number and calls the police. So the nurses are able to name and identify Glover when the police show up. The police actually bring back a picture of Glover, and the nurses confirm that yes, that is him. But the sexual assault isn't enough to be linked to the murder, so the info, when I say isn't enough to be linked to the murders, it's like I don't think they maybe put two and two together. So this information is not passed along to the murder task force for 3 weeks. So detectives confirmed Glover's name from his employer and contacted him and requested that he come in for questioning the following day. When he didn't show up, they called his home, and his wife, Glover's wife, tells detectives that he had attempted to unalive himself via a overdose and is recovering at the Royal North Shore Hospital. So police go and see old Johnny Boy, old Johnsworth, old Johnsonton, in the hospital, and of course he denies to be interviewed, but he did agree for them to take his picture. Staff at the hospital handed police a sewer slide note that was written by Glover, and in this note he states, quote, "No more grannies, ... grannies," and, quote, "Essie, who was his mother-in-law, started it." So, 2 weeks later, the note and photo are passed along to the task force, and they immediately think it's him. They're like, yeah, this dude, he did it. Of course he did. They immediately think it's him, but they don't have any evidence to back that up. So, the head detective of the task force said, quote, "If he said to us, quote, 'I don't want to talk,' we couldn't have proved a thing. Still, the photo matched the descriptions of the gray-haired suspect, and in his job as a pie salesman, Glover could have been at any of these murder scenes." So yeah, if Glover, it's kind of like the whole narcissist thing of like, oh, I don't mind answering questions because I'm smarter than all of you, obviously. So, oh, I got my face itches. Old boy is questioned about the nursing home assaults. and denied everything, obviously. Police chose not to question him about the murders right away because they didn't have enough evidence, and they didn't want to tip him off that they believed he was, a suspect of the murders. Glover was then put under constant police surveillance, police going as far as tagging him with a tracking device. Glover had suspected he might be followed. Glover basically was kind of onto the fact that he was being followed by police. So to try to shake his tail, he would drive around the block multiple times to make sure nobody was following behind him, or he would drive the wrong way down one-way streets. So I tried putting the red all the way across to see how that looks. I don't know if I like that. I might just keep it to this area. I'll do it to the other eye and kind of see how it looks and then take it off if I don't like it. So March 19th, 1990, police watch as 60-year-old Joan Sinclair, who was actually a friend of Glover's, she lets Glover into her home around 10 a.m. Police sat and waited, and they saw no movement in the house by 1 p.m., and then by 5 p.m. they began to worry. So police obtained permission to enter the residence around 6 p.m. Two uniformed officers knock on the door, and they get no answer, so they start looking through the glass door on the back. The back door had a glass door, sorry. So they begin looking through there, and when they look through the glass door, they spot a hammer lying in a pool of dry blood on the floor. Detectives enter the home and search the house. They find Sinclair's. They find that Joan had been killed. Her head was bashed in, and she had multiple blood-soaked towels wrapped around her head, and she was naked from the waist down, and pantyhose were tied around her neck. Police began searching the rest of the residence, and that's when they find Glover unconscious in the bathtub. So on the 28th of March, 1990, Glover pleads not guilty to his crimes, because of course he fucking does. So on the grounds of diminished responsibility, which basically means he's saying, yeah, I broke the law, but my mental functions were impaired, so I'm not responsible. A psychiatrist says that Glover basically built up hostility and aggression since his childhood against his mother and then against his mother-in-law. Oh man, hold on, I'm trying to get these ever so light on the upper lid. But then against his mother-in-law, who was said to trigger him, and when she died, he had to take out his aggression on someone else. The psychiatrist also stated that it was an unusual case, as this was weird too, as very few serial killers exist, and most of them are mentally ill or have organic diseases of the brain. Glover was sane at the time of the murders, but a psychiatrist on the trial, John Shand, said Glover had severe personality disorder. So the Crown prosecutor maintained that Glover was very aware of what he was doing, going as far as to planning what to do with the victim's money, and also took the time to clean the hammer in acid. So apparently, Glover was impotent and had no interest in sex, and just tied the pantyhose around the victims' necks to make sure they were dead, while also at the same time trying to trick police into thinking that this was the work of a sexually motivated killer. So of course Glover was found guilty, because fuck him. After the guilty verdict was read, Justice Wood stated that he was dealing with an extremely dangerous prisoner, going as far as to saying, quote, "He is able to choose when to attack and when to stay his hand. He is cunning and able to cover his tracks. It is plain that he has chosen his moments carefully. Although the crimes have been opportunistic, he has not gone in where the risks were overwhelming. The period since January 1989 has been one of intense and serious crime involving extreme violence inflicted on elderly women, accompanied by theft or robbery of their property. On any view, the prisoner has shown himself to be exceedingly dangerous, and that view was mirrored by the opinions of the psychiatrist who gave evidence at this trial. I have no alternative other to impose the maximum available sentence, which means that the prisoner will be required to spend the remainder of his natural life in jail. It is inappropriate to impose any minimum term to be served before release on parole, having regard to those life sentences. This is not a case where the prisoner may ever be released pursuant to any order of this court. He is never to be released. Fucking shut his ass down, dude. You're like, you're going to jail, buddy. So Glover was put behind, where's my black brush? Glover was put behind bars in Lithgow prison in a maximum security prison cell in a maximum security prison cell. In May 2005, Glover collapsed in his cell and was placed on suicide watch after telling the correctional officers that he wanted to unalive himself. He was monitored by officials and given medical examinations as a follow-up because he had just had surgery. He had 2 surgeries, I think the year prior, for cancer. And on 10th of September 2005, Glover is found dead in his cell after hanging himself. Fuck him. Also, apparently days before his suicide, he had handed out his last, quote, visitor sketch, which was of a park. Glover went as far as to point out 2 pine trees in the image, and in the middle of those pine trees, there was a number 9 written between the branches. The number is said to represent the total number of victims or the number of unsolved murders committed by Glover. The list of unsolved murders that might have been committed by Glover but aren't confirmed are as follows: Amy Mae Anderson, 78, Irene Kittle, 61, Elise Boyes, 63, Christina Yanko, 63, Florence Broadhurst, 78, Josephine McDonald, 72, and Wanda Munson, 83. And that is the tale of the granny killer, John Wayne Glover. What a real piece of shit. I think we're gonna, let me put some eyeliner on, and then we will pick our crime for next week. Alright, so I think that's going to do it. I was a little skeptical about the red, but I think it looks good with the crosses. Now, looking at it now, I can tell that I did them a little off, but who the frick cares? Who cares? The next color of interest from here, I don't know. I just might stick with purple for a little bit. But let's pick next week's crime. Where is your boy? Okay. So when I say next week, we might do the spooky stuff next weekend. Like I said, if you have any paranormal or spooky stories that you would like to send in for us to read, you can send that to snacksspookystories@gmail.com. And also put in there if you want want me to say your name or not, so I can respect your wishes. But all right, who are we going to cover next week? All the cat hair flying off this thing. As always, if you have a case you want covered, leave it in the comments of this video, or you can @ me on Twitter or Instagram, whichever you feel necessary or what you want, works best for you. Just tell me what name you want to put in this here murder pot and or crime container, and we will do it. Okay, so it says Cult the Family. So that's who we're covering next week. The Family International, I think is what it's called, which is a Christian new religious movement. So, yeah, that's who we're going to be covering. Like I said, you have a case you want covered, let me know, @ me somewhere, or leave it in the comments of this video. If you would like to watch these live, we do them on Twitch every Sunday. I will link that in the description of this video as well. I will also link my other social medias if you don't already follow me there. I'm trying to think anything else we want to talk about. New episodes of the podcast still coming out every Thursday. We didn't have one. We're not having one this week because Goose is out of town, so we are not able to record. But I think that's it. If there's anything else that I forget and I remember while editing, I'll just put a text somewhere I'll just put a text somewhere in the video, so be sure to read that. But I will see you guys next week. Be safe, be kind to others, be kind to yourself. Know that you are loved, you are valued, you are cherished, and there's always a place for you here in this community. And if no one's told you today, I'm proud of you. No matter what your accomplishments are, big or small, they're still accomplishments. And you should be proud of yourself as I'm proud of you. I will see you next time. Love you so much. Bye-bye.